Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this training session. We begin in the next 3 minutes. As we begin, I would like to share with you some of the resources you may have seen as we wait for our trainer to join us. So you can find free ebooks, what you saw just running a few minutes, on the link there. We shall also share this with you. And the workbooks which you've also seen are also available on Textbook Center. So as parents, you're able to get them for free, as well as in any bookshop countrywide. And for those who are looking for an ebook solution, they're also available on eKitabu. At this particular point, I would like to invite you all to our second session of the parental training and engagement, which will be beginning in the next 1 minute. And even as we start, I'd like to also share with you some of how to use the icons that are before you. For those who are using their laptops or their phone, you will see that there's a chat box, which a number of you have also been using. Karibuni sana for that. So we'll be asking some few questions, or the trainer will be posting some few questions, and we'll be requesting that you respond through the chat box. There's also an icon for raising your hands, and I can see quite a number have also raised your hands. So we will be asking some questions and expecting you to respond verbally. So we will unmute you so that then you are able to give your response to a question that the trainer or myself will ask. So in case you want to be an active participant, that means you want to also share your views based on the question that shall be asked, please raise your hand. At this particular point, I will lower all the hands for now until that point that you have a question. And then there's also a Q&A section. So for those who want some questions to be addressed in the panel, you can post them at the Q&A section, and we will be able to respond to you at the end of that. I mean, at the end of our session, and we'll be able to address those questions that have been raised. At this particular point, I'd like to invite our trainer. Our trainer today is Rose Iminza. She's a professional development coordinator, and she's also done the learning toolkit, and she's also worked for the Center of Study of Learning and Performance. She's a graduate from Concordia University in Canada, and she's also a teacher and a trainer at the Aga Khan Academy, Mombasa. At this particular point, allow me to invite Rose so that then she can get to introduce herself, and then we can begin. Rose, karibu sana.
Thank you, Daisy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We are going to be looking at parental engagement. And in parental engagement, we are actually thinking about how you as a parent is going to work with the teacher or should work with the teacher in order to enhance your child's learning and learning processes. We have a poll question that Daisy is going to share with us shortly. Daisy.
Thanks a lot, Rose. So there's a question which I'd like the parents to be able to answer. So for those on who have joined us on Zoom, you should be able to see a pop-up window which will show up on your desktop or on your phone. It is actually active, so you're able to respond or to pick an answer based on the answers that will be available there. So you'll just need to respond by touching the button that will be on your screen. For those on Facebook, we'll read out the questions for you. So we'd also request that you also respond by giving us your feedback, or by posting your answers. So the question for today for all the parents is, which one is not your role in enabling learning for your child? So the question is, which one is not your role in enabling learning for your child? So we have got model, teacher, mentor, and parent. So I'll repeat for the sake of those on Facebook, which one is not your role in enabling learning for your child? Very interesting answers. I can see them coming through.
Okay.
Let me see what's happening also on Facebook. I can see some answers have also started coming through. Okay. I will stop the poll. Wow. In the next 1 or so minutes. So if you still want to respond to our poll, please do so. Okay. So Rose, allow me to share the responses that you have received so far.
Thank you, Daisy.
Interesting results there, Rose.
Yes, I can see the results, and I think I like what I'm seeing. So I'm sure by the time we are done with the discussion today, we'll be able to come to a consensus on what really our role would be in enabling learning for our children. So in today's session, we just want to go back to 2017, where we had the curriculum change or reform, and very quickly look at that. And then we want to see one enabler that the children need since they are the digital citizens in order to enhance their learning. And then importantly, how do we know that they are learning? Okay, so we'll want to look at learning and how it is assessed, either as learning or of learning. But we are hoping most of what will be happening in our classrooms is assessment for learning. So then how do we enable? How do we engage? How do we get empowered? Or how do we empower our children? Okay, so we ask the question, why parental empowerment and engagement? Is it necessary?
Rose,
yes.
Rose, would you want to share your screen?
Okay, so yeah, let me share my screen. I thought I was Daisy.
It's okay.
So just give me a minute. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen there. Can you see my screen, Daisy?
Yes, Rose, we can see it. Thank you. You may proceed.
Okay, just let me know if it's on, because I cannot, for some reason, I'm not able to see my screen. How? Just a minute again. Sorry for that. Daisy, I think I'll need some help here, but just in a short while, I'm getting connected back. Stop the share. We're gonna end my. So Daisy, it's telling me I cannot share my screen.
Do you want to begin now, Rose?
So it's telling me I cannot share my screen. I don't
Okay,
understand.
sorry about that. Let me.
Just let me cancel that.
I have shared my screen. Maybe you can talk through.
Okay, supposing you just remove, then I try again. One
Okay.
more time. Yeah, because it's telling me somebody else is sharing a screen. Okay.
Thank you. We can now see it.
All right.
Please proceed.
Okay. Okay. So why parental enabling? Why empowerment? Why engagement? So the KICD has thought through these processes. And over years, we all agree that the first schooling environment the child goes to is the home schooling. And if that has worked over the years, so then what? Okay. So again, we are saying it's critical to have parental involvement, engagement, empowerment, because it is we parents who will help our children identify their potentials as they continue. And it also impacts positively on how they achieve in their educational outcomes now while they're in school and even for future. Again, research shows that having parental involvement in a child's learner is the basis for the teacher-parent partnership. And it's critical for those two players to partner, because when they don't partner, then we have issues that the child may meet as they go through their learning processes. Okay. So to take us through this, so we have this image here, and I know you've seen it many times. I just want you to take a minute and say what you think it means to you. So give us a minute or so to just look at it, and then you'll share with us what it means to you as a parent.
Okay. Maybe we can see your responses, parents. What do you think about the image that is in front of you? You can use the chat box underneath. And then for those on Facebook, you can also post on based on the question Roses asked. What do you think when you see the image that is in front of you? I can see Frank Angiria says holistic education is provided at the home. That's what comes to mind. It shows, Joyce says, well, these answers are coming very thick and fast. So she says morning, it shows children of various, oops, I lost it again. Okay, so I can see Erastus says learning that engages the child. Jean says it's learning education learning or education should be practical and fun. And Jackie says parental engage and encouragement. Maybe Rose, you want to take us through?
Yes, so I'm just happy that we as parents, we are looking at it in the perspective that shows our role as parents in this process, okay? But you also know that this is the symbol for the new curriculum, for the competency-based curriculum. As you can see, there's a roof, there is a foundation, and there are pillars. And that is what we find in our homes. A good home should have that manner of support system, with a good foundation, with a good roof for the children, and of course, pillars to support the roof. And again, seeing the CBC curriculum, it brings that out very strongly in the manner of the mission and the vision, which forms the roof of the learning process, or the basic education frame, or the reforms, okay? And then you look at the pillars. What builds the process? What builds the learning? What builds up this final thing we want to see? More engaged learners, more ethical citizens in future. And what is the foundation to this? And so the foundation is basically the competencies that we as parents are trying to work with the teachers to bring out in these children you're seeing in that house. Let me call it a house for this time. And then you can also see the varied forms of learning. The children who are learning as they play outside. There is a guidance. There is children who may be impaired one way or the other, but they are assisting each other. Children learn very well together. And so this is where the education reform has taken us. This is where the education reform has taken us. But why is it so? It also conforms to our national goals of education. It responds to our national goals of education and where Kenya would like to be, or where Kenya has wanted to be in the last decade and continuing into the 21st century and beyond. So that's critical for us. So this reform comes because man has to reform anyway, okay? Man has to reform. And you look at this image that is in front of you and you see where we have come from, and things change. Some things become obsolete, like the spear became obsolete because there were other ways of getting resource like food, okay? And looking at technology, where we are heading to, began somewhere, but there had to be a reform. And over time, you can see there has been a reform in the gadgets that we use, the gadgets that we have had in our lifetime, okay? So in a way of embracing this reform, there are things that we have moved away from, and there are things that we are maintaining in the curriculum that we have right now in the CBC curriculum. So we are not saying that we removed everything totally. We just say that we are moving from less of this to more of this. Less of content focus. The child doesn't have to read and cram, but the child needs to develop competencies. So then after knowing something, how can they now create an ability? How can they create or come up with a skill? How can it be skilled? How can it be applied? And then we don't want where the teachers would have to say, this is the curriculum, this is the syllabus, we have to complete the syllabus. So bring your children on Saturday, on Sunday, 5 in the morning, so that we complete the syllabus. No, we are not focusing on completing the syllabus. We are looking at a more flexible opportunity for specialization, because not all of us learn by completing something. We just need to understand a concept and then be able to apply that concept. And then how do we know that learning has taken place? So again, we are moving away from a rigid summative approach, and where we are now is a balance between formative and summative. I know we parents have struggled with this. We were used to reports, and we were used to, I want to know my child's position. Did they rank position 1? Did they score 400 and above marks? The minimum for early years, and so on. But we don't want to confine ourselves to that. We can have that, You can have a score, but at the same time, we want to see the abilities. We want to see how that knowledge has been transferred into skills and can be applied in day-to-day life. So that's when we emphasize on education. We don't want our children to go to school to grow up. We want them to be in an education. We want them to get an education. And that is why learning becomes critical for the new or the CBC or the curriculum that is competency based. Okay. So this is a very quick run through of where we are at. I don't know where we are at as parents or where our children are at, but I'm assuming that we probably are at early years education. Most of us who are listening to this session or are engaging in this session. And if that's the case, then in those of us who our children are at this point, are trying to meet these general learning outcomes. Now, looking at these general learning outcomes, and when you look at them with me, you'll realize that there are things that we are already beginning to see their importance or their relevance in day-to-day life. For instance, when you look at practice hygiene, nutrition, sanitation, safety, and nutrition to promote health and well-being, and you come to the global scenario right now, and we are having Corona. And I think, wasn't it good that this came through, that we have a subject content called nutrition, hygiene and nutrition, where our children have actually been taught the correct way to wash their hands, and that they can teach us as parents how to wash our hands properly in this dispensation where we are having the Corona pandemic or COVID-19 pandemic. But ultimately, at the end of this level, the child has to do an individualized assessment. Those of us who had children in grade 3 last year, you understand that the children had to do a project. They had to go to a market, clean up a market, collect artifacts or pictures, and be able to develop a portfolio. What I would want to encourage us as parents, if your child is in PP1 at the moment, begin to help them to understand how to collect evidence, how to collect resource that they can use for future. Why is this happening? We are teaching our children early enough to begin to research, to begin to question things, to begin to get answers for the questions that they have. So as early as you can, and don't worry that they're in PP2, help them develop a portfolio. It could be an e-portfolio, it could be just manila, it could be carton box, it could be something that they can collect evidences or what we call artifacts to add into, so that we know how they are progressing. Okay, so this is the beginning of helping them to think about what they want to become, begin to think about their pathways. Okay, so let's get every opportunity possible and help our children to get there. Now, once they move into middle school, where we are talking about them being in upper primary and also them being able to get a little, of course, they've become a little older. Let them now begin to appreciate their progression routes. Let them begin to appreciate, why was I doing a portfolio? Why was I collecting things? It is because they are moving towards a pathway, okay? And by the time they get into the end of lower secondary, then they will already have done some subject specialization kind of, so that they are preparing themselves for the next level where they can now select or choose their pathways as art, social science, STEM, or a blend of each. Why am I saying a blend of each? For instance, if we identify or we are helping our children identify their pathways, we have to try and help them explore those pathways and be able to help them explore on talent. And you know that talent is innate. So if a child has an innate talent, for instance, in sports, this child looks to be good in athletics, you may want to help them by enabling opportunities for them to improve their talent. But that does not mean totally that now they lose out on the STEM. So this child may also be very good at scientific related concepts. So, but he is good in athletics. So what you would do, for instance, would be to ask your child questions leading towards these two areas that you think your child is beginning to focus on. Now, if this child does not become, the world champion holder, he may choose to be a sports doctor, okay? He may venture into sports medicine, which again requires sciences. He may venture into sports journalism, which becomes a social science. He may want to venture into coaching and remain within the sports arts and sports science frame. But so that's how you begin to identify the pathways that they want to take, and therefore direct them or help them find direction in whether they will continue with a university degree or join a tertiary institution to enhance what you have helped them explore already, and now you just want to strengthen so that your child can move on to the career world, okay? So this is critical. The pathways are critical in helping your child get a direction towards the career world, okay? Now, surprisingly, careers or jobs are changing. Jobs will not remain the same. Look at this. So these are jobs that we probably are doing right now. Some of us are financial managers, we are installation maintenance people, we are readers, authors, we manage personnel and so on. So these jobs, unfortunately, are declining, but these career paths are growing. So in as much as we are in this dispensation, let's think about helping our children to think critically. So if the child would like to do technology installation and maintenance, can we help them think about technology design and programming, for instance? Because that is where we are growing towards. That is where the children that we have in our homes are moving towards. Technology is going to be the foundation, and that is why digital literacy becomes a cross-cutting competency when the children are learning. Okay? So the new jobs that our children will be doing are such as these ones. Okay? So these are some of the new jobs that we need to focus our children towards. Now, it has to begin with what we are offering as a country. The child will go and do technology programming, okay? But as they continue into university, as they continue further on, then they need to be thinking about, do I want to be a weather engineer? If that was their pathway, do they want to be, they wanted to do foods? Would they want to be 3D food printer, biochemist, and so on? Okay? Now, we are currently actually preparing learners for jobs that don't exist. Let's remember that. Let's help our children think that way, that the jobs we are preparing them for are still yet to come, or they're in the process of coming. So let's use technology. Let's help them, let's encourage them to think technology in order to solve the problems that we don't even know if they're there or if they're yet to come, okay? So that is why digital literacy, like I said earlier, is critical in the learning spaces. It's through digital literature. Once we allow or we help our children give them your phone. But remember, there has to be parental support, even as you give them access to your phone. Help them use it. Help them understand the areas of what it is they really want. And then how can they create spaces, or what can work for them, okay? So at this early age, maybe you want them to even just explore resources online. And remember, Daisy said earlier that we have ebooks, we have e-resources for developed by the OUP. There's one particular one, for instance, if you want your child to understand reading, then you'll be wanting to think, how can I know the level at which my child is reading? Maybe the teacher has made you think that your child is reading very well because they can speak a number of English words and a number of good Kiswahili sentences. But so then let's be sure that we know. And so you can take the OUP know your child's reading level test to know at what level your child is. So, but if you were to get the online resource to supplement what OUP has, and you're looking at this one, for instance, the multiplication table, which we all learned, or which we were all taught differently. And those who had a math inclination, that clicked very easily. And those who had a challenge with that, it took a while to click, but that's fine. So for our children, can we make it a little more fun so that as they read, they are, you're reading, as they do the activities, you're able to do this with them. So this, for instance, is a multiplication bingo, and you have instructions right here. This is all online. I didn't even I don't have a reason why I picked this one, but it's an online resource that you can use. So you cut out these flashcards, okay, and have each child have their own flashcards if you have one or two, and yourself. And then one of you becomes the reader, and then cut out the bingo cards and have each child with several bingo cards, or you and the child if it is just you and the child, and then play the game. And that makes learning fun. So here we are looking at a resource that is available to us. But like I said, do not forget that we have resources that are available to us, and they are from our very own printing press. So that we are talking about opportunity for how we can enhance learning and learning digitally. So one of the things research has shown is that when you read with your child, or when your child reads for you, or when you read for the child, then it does go a long way in enhancing acquisition of knowledge of not only the language, but also all other learning areas that the child will have gone through. So reading is critical, and I just want to, again, very quickly show you other resources that you may get or may come across that would increase reading, but that are interactive in nature, so that the child, as you play with the child, they are learning and they think they're playing, but they are learning or learning to read as they play. Okay, so if we go to reading and we click here on tracking, and then we select a story, and the story would be, for instance, The Little Red Hen. Then, and this is an activity the child is doing, okay? So you as a parent, we also has a resource that you can use within this software so that you can help the child grow in the way they read. And then it gives you a demo, for instance, that if a child has difficulty in pronouncing a certain word, It helps the child to pronounce that word before they go on to the next page. So the child will begin to read with you, read for you, or you read together. You can actually do this together as you track the words the child is reading. If the child has a problem pronouncing the word leave, then the child can click on the word and the word comes to the screen and the software asks the child to sound it out. You know that our children learn by sounding. They need to sound the words, the letters out first before they can get the correct, what we call phonemic awareness or phonological awareness. So if they're happy with that, they'll click on that. If they are not, then they can ask the software to help them to sound out the word, okay? So this is just one of the softwares. Again, OUP has a lot of this that we can use to increase our children reading abilities, our children mathematical abilities, environmental activities, and so on. But back to digital and why I demonstrated digital resourcing. We need to understand as parents that there are three elements that we have to talk about as we expose our children to the digital resources that we have in the house. And there are many. It could be radio, it could be TV, it could be all those gadgets that the children have access to, okay? So what is the competency? What do you want to get out of it? And so this is important. This is important. You don't want your children hiding to play a game that is far from what they need to be learning, particularly at this time when you would like them to engage with learning. Then how do they use it? And then very importantly, how do they transform? How do they transform? This is the bottom line. There has to be creativity. Can they create? Can they create something that they can use in their future, even as early as now? Okay, so they need to understand why they're doing it, how to access it, how to collect the information, how now to interpret the information, how to make a judgment of the information they have online or the information they have on the digital resource, and then how they can use that information to adapt, to apply, to design, to invent, to author or something, so that they're not just doing it for the sake of it. They should be working on a digital resource or a digital platform for a good reason, okay? Then critically, let them communicate what they have been able to tailor or what they have been able to make to you. So I come to a critical part of this, and this is assessment, and we're asking ourselves, why assessment? And I want to pause here and just ask the question, why do you think it's important to assess? So I'll give us 5 seconds or so to just think about that, and another 5 seconds to enter your response into our poll. Why do you think we need to assess, even as parents? Or why is important? Why is assessment important for learning?
I can see Mary Ngugi saying it's to measure progress.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else, Carol says assessment helps determine progress.
Mm-hmm.
That says to know learning has taken place.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I can see E has written to know the level of understanding of your child. Wow.
Daisy, those are, I think our parents, I think we don't need to go through this session for assessment. I think our parents seem to know why we do the assessment, which is really important and which is very critical for learning, because it's the only way that we will know, like one of us has said, understand the levels of learning, understand whether learning has taken place, okay? So that is important for us as parents? Has learning taken place? Has my child learned today? Okay, so there is a component of assessment that we call assessment as learning. We also talk about assessment, sorry about the way this is coming in. Assessment as learning, assessment for learning, and assessment of learning, okay? So we have tried to shift from assessment of learning as being the foundation of assessment that we had, where we had standardized grades, where we had, you know, a mean score being tied to your child, or an A score tied to your child, or a E score as a failure tied to your child, and so on. So we've shifted that balance. The new curriculum is shifting us to having assessment as learning being the foundation of assessment. And what is assessment as learning? Assessment as learning is what occurs when a learner, the child himself monitors what they are learning and use that feedback from this monitoring to make personal, independent adjustments, adaptations, and even major changes in what they understand. So the child has to be at the center of assessment, or at the core of assessment. But of critical to us and the teachers is assessment for learning. But this is important because you have to encourage your child to ask themselves, what did I learn today? Why did I learn it? How can I use this in my day-to-day living? If the child can answer those three critical questions, then the teacher and you can support each other in now assessing as the learning is taking place. Formative assessment that occurs during instruction to be used in the service of the next stage of learning. And I think as we had the discussion earlier, to understand so that you can collaborate or understand how to collaborate with your teacher to support, or your child's teacher to support that learning. Now, when you do that, then you're able to help the child deepen their understanding of learning, so that the child is able to actively construct knowledge, give meaning to material. Anything they do, if they are asked to draw, can they give meaning to that drawing that they have been asked to draw by the teacher? And so when they come home, you as a parent, how are you enabling that to continue? Is that the child's pathway? So how are you helping that happen? Okay, now so we have a concept in literature called, we talk about deep and surface learning. So deep and surface learning denotes whether learning has deepened, and it's learning that is going to produce what we are talking about as skills, or it's just learning that happened. And sometimes we used to say that the drilling procedures in our schools earlier would be to have the children upload the knowledge, then they go into an exam room, then they download the knowledge that they uploaded, and once they're done with their downloading and the exam results are out, that's the end of it. No, we don't want that focus on surface learning, where learning is very superficial. It's very passive. It's the teacher at the center of it. And I think many of the panelists earlier and the facilitators have talked about that the child has to be a part of the learning. And that is why the child has to be a part of the assessment. Then they can get that innate or internal reward and self-motivation to learn. And like when they know there's a grade coming, so the external motivation becomes their focus for reward. And we parents have a way of making sure that this happens, okay? So let's move away from, if you finish your homework, I'm going to buy you. No, let's them do their homework because they feel motivated to do that, their homework, and they're focusing on their own internal. Just the confidence of successfully completing a task, okay? So how will you know that learning is happening? If you can see some results in the lifelong, as they live today, day by day, you will see a lot of this when knowledge becomes useful and relevant to where the child is, okay? For instance, hand washing has become very relevant to where we are today. So this is critical for the children, okay? Daisy, I have to escape a bit. I just need to give another slide. Sorry for that. I think.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll close this. Sorry about that, parents. Okay. Okay, so we want to find out whether we've understood, not we've understood, of course we know what assessment is, but we just want to do an assessment and then we'll see how we move on from that. And I want us to get to our phones and go to your Google and type in joinmyquizzes.com. So get on hold of your phone, type in joinmyquizzes.com. And we want to answer some 10 basic questions on what assessment is or what a formative assessment is, so that we understand how we can collaborate with the teachers in the processes of assessment. So let me know by a show of hands if we all are on quizzes.com. And then once you're there, enter the code 8540 8083. So we want to try out an assessment and how our teachers may approach assessment, or how you and your child, if you can encourage your child by giving them a digital assessment that may motivate them more from inside as they go on with their
Maybe
learning
Rose,
process.
I can just assist there. I can see a number of teachers are asking for the link. So so quizzes, I will just give you you know, the link.
Although they just need to join, click on joinmyquizzes.com. If they type this in the URL, they should be able to go to quizzes. And
so
then,
quizzes is QUIZIZZ. So quizzes is QUIZIZZ, or okay. So join my quizzes. I've also shared the link.
Sorry, I wasn't sharing the screen. Sorry about that. Okay, share. Sorry about that. So that's the link, joinmyquizzes.com. And then Daisy has shared the link. Thank you very much, Daisy, for coming to the rescue. So as we join the activity, it will be running right there, and we can have the children do the same. So we are starting the game in about 3 minutes. I think around 7 of us. There you can see we are 8 of us have registered. I don't know if there are any more are joining. I can see 15, 17, 18. In about 5 seconds, I will start the game. And don't worry if you're not able to participate in this one, you should be able to participate by creating your own. This allows you to create after the child has done some work in the books. You can bring them here and have them join a game and where you're doing an assessment with them. So I'm starting the game. 55 of us have joined. And very quickly, the questions are coming up. So just answer the question by ticking. Which of the following is not a typical example of formative assessment? So just tick what you think, and don't worry if your answer is not correct. Just go on and tick an answer. Okay, I need to see results coming in. Okay, so it's definitely giving you this kind of results, and it's giving you where you are at, okay? Where you are at. So you'll allow me to click on any so that we see how we are progressing. So look, the software gives you a response and also gives you a rank. If you want your child to understand where am I, how am I doing, and this, then we can do this. So why should I use formative assessment? And then formative assessment must be graded. Is it a must? Is it not a must? Let's see, and I think I will take any and see. And I hope you're following up your own assessment. I wanted you to do it so that you are assessing yourself. Remember we said assessment as learning, and I'm assuming for this particular session, you are the learner, the child. So how is it helping you, okay? So I clicked on on that, but you can see Linda is at the top there, okay? Let me do that and see, okay? Linda is still at the top, and Eric is there as well, okay? What is required for an assessment to be considered a formative assessment? And we are at question 6. So let's go, kids, let's go. What could be the answer here? Data changes, curriculum mapping, data is reported, DA and C, data is used to influence instruction, and somebody's wondering, so what is this DA and C? And I will click on it and I get a wrong, okay? So Eric, Linda, still up there. And then I'm thinking to be formative, assessment must it have a written product, a recipe for future action, a graphic organizer? See, it is helping us as parents to know how to format or how to help our children do formative assessment, or to assess the assessments that the child has done in school as you collaborate with the teacher. So let's see, maybe it could have, yes, looks like I got it, okay? But I'm still at number 45, okay? Which is okay. Formative assessment, because I'm going at my pace, okay? I'm going at my pace. Eric and who did I see at the top? Linda are also going at their pace. But so this is very differentiated because it gives the child, every child, an opportunity to assess their own progress, and then see what do I need to revise, and we're coming to that in a short while. Okay, use during instruction, and I think we talked about that. Victor and Paul seem to have topped the chart. Why is formative assessment important? Tells the teacher who the advanced learners are. Is it Victor? Is it Linda? How advanced is Rose here, who is at number 45? Adds a grade to the grade book, showing administration evidence of the teacher planning. Is it used to guide instruction? What do we do? Let's try this. Okay, so it's important because it guides instruction. Okay, of the following statements, identify which of these are true of formative assessment. So that the formative assessment task must always be graded. Is that true? D, B, and C, they provide valuable feedback for students. They provide valuable feedback for the teacher. So then you weigh. So which one could it be? Is it valuable feedback for the teacher? They must be graded D, B, and C. Let's try this one. And you realize it doesn't provide valuable information to the teacher or the student. Now, this software allows you to re-attempt your questions. Now, isn't it nice for the children, when you've given them a task, to give them an opportunity to go back and redo, and they have the marking scheme or the rubric, for instance. Now they can redo what they need to revise, maybe revise that question. So the question comes for again, and then we say, let's say D, B, and C. Okay, and I'm told, no, it's barely correct. So I'm still not there yet. And then you complete the assessment. Now I want to ask us a question, because this is what our teachers eventually will do. Eventually our teachers will look at what the children have done formatively, and then they will do and add this to a rubric, and then they will tell you the child in the concept of assessment, or in the concept that they were tested on, Habiba, Paul, Victoria, Roba, where would you put them? Are they approaching expectation, exceeding expectation, meeting expectation, or they are below expectation? So maybe I'll pause there so that we understand how the teachers may come up with a score and a report that is interpreted from the task the children did. So when you look at this, and I want to just go with the first 10 that we can see on our screen, and assume only these 10 children did the assessment. Where would we rank them? Not rank. How would we evaluate them in terms of exceeding expectation, meeting expectation, approaching expectation, or were they below expectation? And is this useful that the children just need to understand, I am approaching expectation? So I'll give us 3 minutes, 5 seconds to respond to that on our poll, and then also answer for me the question. Now, is this something you can do with your children? Rhetoric.
Hi, Rose. Maybe just to clarify, parents are asking about the child not being able to answer the questions we shared. This is just for the parental engagement, but if you go to the website, you will find interesting sessions also for children based on their grade. So you can give them that, or develop questions so that, I mean, for yourself, so that then you can actually see the child's performance. But if you,
yes, yeah, I think Daisy, that's critical there. So yes, there are children that may not respond to the question. It does not mean that that child is dumb or that child is totally unable to. There's a way teachers are also being helped to think about differentiation in their classroom. So that, for instance, there could be children right in this exercise, on this activity, who are very quick with their gadgets, or there are children who have to think fast, consider all the 4 options before they can click, which takes some time. And by that which time the teacher has already moved to the next task. So what we encourage you as parents and as you work with the teachers is allow the child an opportunity to either redo. Now, what we also encourage teachers to think about is what we call individualized approach to teaching. It's good for the teacher to know each child in their class, but we have schools or children in schools where we have 150 in a classroom. So definitely you cannot expect all the children to be given individualized attention, okay? It's up to the teacher to do what we call an individualized plan, or we call it an IEP, so that the teacher knows this number of children in my class need more attention because so far they have not met the expectation of the learning outcome, okay? So, but you as a parent, you definitely are you know, sorry, let me escape this fast. So you as a parent, you have to be at the forefront of how your child learns. You know your child better, so it is important to discuss this with the teacher so that you see how the 2 of you can help your child. And that's where we are going to in a bit, okay? So we'll answer the rest of the questions as we go. Since we are running out of time. Is that okay, Daisy?
Yes, Rose, how long do you need? I'm sure teachers and parents can just give us a few more minutes. We cover this because you'd also want to get into your questions.
Yes. Is that okay?
Yes, Rose,
okay,
please
so
proceed.
if you give us 10 more minutes, we'll be out of here, okay? So this is what we are talking about. We don't want to be parents who are not collaborating with the teachers. We want to look at the grade or the assessment as work that the child is able to do. This is a cartoon that for me explains how we need to collaborate with the teachers, okay? To help the child. See, when the child celebrates that you are yelling at the teacher, it does not help the child improve their performance in class. And that may affect the relationship between you and the child, the relationship between, or the respect that the child gives you, the respect that the child gives the teacher, and we lose it out right there. So we are going into a very final session. And here we want to ask ourselves, how do we want to do this? How do we want to make it work? And I just want to start by saying that we must plan. You have to plan. Homeschooling or having your children at home today, you have to plan. Monday, what do we do? There has to be time for play. There has to be time for TV. There has to be time, of course, for meals, but you have to plan around that. Now, commitment is critical, and that comes with discipline. Engage with the rest of the community. Now, with COVID-19, this may not work, okay? But if things go back to where they were, if the teacher wants the child to work on sweeping a compound, let the child try it at home if there's a compound. If there's no compound, there's a church compound. Or somewhere else where they go to for social gatherings. Let them try that out, okay? Look for a resource person, look for resources. Make the learning stimulating. You can use the softwares and so on. Encourage decision making, including when do we learn, when do we go for lunch and so on, so that they are in it, okay? So, but very quickly, you have to set some bar, you have to set some standards as you have to set some standards as you go on. Okay, so do not assume that do not assume that the child knows your expectation. They should be able to know what you expect of them. And then when this happens, or this happens by you developing positive sessions with the teacher. Positive sessions with the teacher. Collaborate with your teacher. Know the competencies that the child needs to develop at home. There are 8 of those competencies. It's 8 or 7, Daisy. Let them know. Help your child develop those competencies. In what happens with the teacher is the teacher will not ask the child to go and develop all competencies at once. There is maybe a weekly competency the child needs to develop. There could be a monthly. So if it is digital literacy, for instance, you will see the tasks that are coming that the child is being sent home with are geared towards that particular competency. And then we've just gone through assessment. Just know how the teacher is assessing and how the teacher is reporting and what tools is the teacher using. And so what do I need to do as a follow-up? This is sometimes easy, but sometimes also very difficult, being friends or a partner to your child's teacher, but let's try and make that happen. Now talk about at home, talk about their relationship, their friend, and they will want to tell you anyway, unless you block them from telling you. Talk about what they like, what they did today. They were given a star today, that's important to them. Talk about that, okay? Now, when you go back to school, be involved in the school activities. Sometimes we go to school and we are passive. We want to sit in the tent and listen up and maybe give a critique or something. But it should be nice if there was a parent's activity or a children's activity for us to go earlier and ask the teacher, what can I do? Would you like me to cut the bands that we will use to identify the teams during the sports day? Would you like me to help with marking the field where the children will do the sports activities? Be involved, spare some time and do that. Then try and also help in improving the existing facilities, particularly for our public schools. If you can, try and help improve, okay? It could even be just repairing a swing. It could be anything, but if you can, please try and help. Could be providing some resource or even personal, not personal, you as a resource, okay? Now, this is important. If there's any mentorship program in the school, you can be one of that, a part of that, okay? Then create a learning environment at home that will provide independence. Children, when they are given a freedom, a space to think about how they want to learn, they will ask you, Mama, I want to visit the gallery because I read about galleries and I've never seen one, okay? Is it good? Can I watch this documentary on the animals of China, for instance, you know? So give them that leeway, but also be there to supervise, but in a way that there is space for the child to make their own decision, and importantly support their well-being, okay? So how does this benefit us as parents or the child? Eventually it is for the child. This is how we get to benefit. Definitely your child will do better. If there are grades, you will see better grades at when they're doing the care, the Kenya early years assessment, whether the summative bit or the formative bit, you will see some good outcomes, okay? Then the child, importantly, when the child is more motivated, then they are more confident, then they are thinking about themselves and their targets and how they want to meet those personal targets, okay? Then of course, This OUP, of course, has books that would help us on a day-to-day basis now that we are with our children at home. But again, like I said, make sure you plan. Now we need, as you select your books, make sure that these books are looking at the roof of this curriculum, that the learner will be enabled, the learner will be engaged, and that eventually we will have an engaged, empowered, and ethical citizen, eventually. But how do we do this? We have to nurture. We have to nurture their potential. We have to understand the directions they are going career-wise, the pathways they want to take, okay? And support them on that. And then how do we also enable that? We have to understand the career competencies. We have to understand the values that go with society, with learning and education. We have to understand what is happening. For instance, when you look at the PCI that is happening to us and to the entire globe right now is the corona or the COVID-19 pandemic. So when you look at the PCI or pertinent and contemporary issue, the contemporary issue we are facing as a globe right now is the COVID-19. So how do we help the child? So our books try to make sure that all these values are in place, all the competencies and the PCIs are in place. So citizenship is critical at the moment as well, both as a PCI and as a competency. Now we are suffering the same pandemic as a global family, okay? Now that is citizenship. We need to help our children understand that, okay? So our books are these ones. If in your schedule today you wanted them to think about maths, it would be nice to get yourself a workbook where they will be working on maths, or it is a new progressive English. Once they have done the reading test, they can go on and do the activities in the new progressive primary English grade 1, if they are in grade 1, okay? If it is Kiswahili, if it is environmental studies, if it is hygiene, if it is Christian religious education, or a general one where they can answer on their own. Okay, so once they do their work, they can come back to you. And so these are the books, and the books, as we have said, you can be involved. There are tasks that you can work with the children or support the children as they work. Please don't do the tasks for them. Sometimes we do that when the teacher has asked for an assessment. Let the child learn to do the work. Let it not be perfect, but let's support them to do the work themselves. That helps a lot. And don't forget, we go back to our poll, first poll, you are the parents and not the teacher.
Thank you so much, Rose.
So you, okay.
Oh,
So
sorry.
I could just finish up. So for more reading on parental engagement, you can resource or find a resource in the KICD. KICD has a very good document on parental engagement, and we come to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rose. Maybe we'll just take one question a parent has asked. So this parent asked if the teacher, what's the role of the teachers if parents are doing all the work?
Yes, so that is why we don't want you to do all the work. You have your work cut out as a parent. As a parent, you will provide the enablement, you will provide the opportunity, you'll provide the space. That is your work. What comes in as content or concepts, they come from the teacher. You cannot want to usurp that. So play your role as a parent, support your child's learning, support your child's pathway, enable their progression, okay? Help them explore where they want to go, what it is they want to do in future. Help them to complete their tasks, but don't do it for them. and you are not, and don't even try to do the responsibility of the teacher. Leave the teaching to the teachers. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. Thanks a lot, Rose. Now, do I see any other question? Okay, so Regina asks, hi Daisy, thanks for this insightful meeting with teachers and parents. My concern though is could you also have a forum for upper classes 5 to 8 since this one basically touches on lower grades, the CBC. Thanks a lot, Regina. That's a very good question. Indeed, it's something that we will work on. So we have actually just started first with the lower classes as CBC has been quite challenging. We will definitely get in touch with you when we go to the upper classes. Now, for those who were asking about the resources, so we have 3 different resources. So we have free ebooks from OUP on the link that I've shared there. So you will also not only find the ebooks but also exercises for in math that you and also in English that you can also engage your children in. Plus this this website also allows you to be able to grade your child's reading ability, and then it matches them to the correct books. So you can actually use this to help understand what particular books your child is able to read, and it matches them to the correct books in their reading level. And number 2, we also have workbooks like Rose had mentioned. So the workbooks are fun, they have activities, and they're in each subject. So a child is able to do the workbooks to do their work within those workbooks, so they're able to write on them. And we have a different workbook for each of the subjects or the learning areas that they are be going through. And the good thing is, as a parent, there's also an answer book at the end, so you're able then to guide your child based on the information we have been told using the answer books. So we have a partnership with Textbook Center. So if you click on the link, which we'll share with you, you're able to get these workbooks, buy them and get them delivered to you at your home for free. We also, for those parents who are asking for ebooks, we have the link there for ebooks. You can actually get all our Oxford ebooks to support your learner, including those ones in higher classes and the ones in secondary, with all our books, including readers, revision material. You can always find them as an ebook on that website. Now, for those who were requesting for these slides, there's an email there, marketing.ke@oup.com, marketing.ke@oup.com. Please send your emails there and we will be able to share with you the slides from today. And those who were asking for previous sessions or would like to, or came in a bit late during this session, we have our YouTube channel, that's Oxford University Press East Africa YouTube channel. So you can also, within your free time, also go to that website and you'll be able to get the recordings for previous sessions. And also this session will be there. And for those on Facebook, you can actually watch all the sessions on our Facebook page. So at this particular point, I'd like to thank all the teachers and who've really supported us in terms of getting the parents come through. And also thank you so much, parents. We hope that at this particular point, we have learned how to support our students and our learners. If you have any other question, you can also send it on that email and we'll be able to get in touch with you. Have a good day and do take care. Unless, Rose, you have something to say?
Just to appreciate you parents for spending some time with us, and really apologize for the few mishaps. You may experience those once in a while when you're doing sessions with your children, but don't give up. Keep pushing it, keep going. You can help our children. You can actually help us change Kenya for the better. Thank you and all the best as parents. Hello, Daisy.